Hello there, Ian here, and great to be with you again. And I really hope that this catches you well and in great spirits. The idea that I'm sharing today really was inspired by a company I followed for many years called Red Balloon, and the way that they are keeping track of their progress. I'll explain what they do in a short while, but first of all, to improve anything, the key message that I'm getting across today is the importance of measurement and metrics. Now, I've mentioned these ideas before, but it really came home as to how effective those are when I heard of the latest Red Balloon story. But first of all, I'll share an idea and a practice that I had in my own history not so long ago. And the background is this: I was really trying to get to grips with my own finances and expenses, and to see if my business was really doing as well as I perhaps thought it was. So I tried to keep track of my expenditure, just to know what it was. And I tried various things. I tried, first of all, recording things on a smartphone. So I would record a transaction. If I bought a cup of coffee, or if I did something, I would try and record it on the mobile phone, and then try and tally them up at the end of the day or end of the week. And for me, at least, I found that quite hard to do, because you open the phone, get to the right app, maybe mistype it, and so I found that quite cumbersome to do. I tried keeping the receipts in my wallet, and then at the end of the day opening the receipts and entering them into a spreadsheet, but I found that the discipline required, for me at least, was quite hard to maintain, because at the end of the day, what do you want to do? Or what did I want to do? I wanted to get home, have some food, make a cup of tea, put the television on, and do those sort of wind down things. Or you were meeting friends for that evening, and you didn't have the chance to then open up the receipts for that day and tally up the expenses. So if you miss a day, you can miss 2 days, and then I found that quite hard to do. The only thing, I stress, the only thing for me that made sense was a surprisingly low-tech solution, and it was one of these. It wasn't this exact notebook, but it was a small notebook that I could put in my pocket every day and just record the expenses as I incurred them. Now, the discipline to do that I found a lot easier. Of course, you had to make sure that the notebook and at least a pencil or a pen were with you at all times. And by the way, the easiest way to do that is to implement some sort of a simple checklist. I have a 9-point checklist for when I leave the office, the car, or the house. For that month, I had a 10th thing that was my notebook. So every cup of coffee, every parking meter that I paid, every toll that I drove through, I pulled to the side, wrote down that cost of the toll in the book. So even if it was a few cents or a few sen here, I'd write it down. And I found that, of course, at the end of the week or every few days, you then got a spreadsheet, or I got a spreadsheet out and tallied up the figures. But I found that quite easy to do. So what I'm sharing with you today really are, if you want to improve something, anything, begin by measuring it. If you measure it, you've got the opportunity to improve it. And sometimes the simple act of measuring something improves it simply by the act of measuring. So here are 3 key things, and I'll get back to the Red Balloon example in a minute. The 3 key things. One is, to improve something, we need to measure. Okay, that is the overriding principle of today. So the first thing is measure. The second thing is, it has to be frequent. If you only update the score once a month, for example, it's very hard to take action, and you only know where you are 4 weeks late. if you like. The first thing you want to know when you tune into a football match or a game of any sort is, what's the score? In real time, you want to know what the score is. So the first principle is measure. The second one is measure it frequently enough for you to take action if you see things getting out of alignment. Lastly, and probably the most important of all, is visibility. It has to be visible to everybody concerned with the score. It's no good having a scoreboard that sits in someone's drawer or is online where you have to go through a series of clicks to get the score. It's visible, but not instantly visible to everybody. So the visibility is the key, and it doesn't have to be pretty either. It can simply be on a whiteboard or a piece of A4 paper that you pin on the board to see how you're doing. But it has to be visible at all times to everybody concerned with the score. So back to Red Balloon. Red Balloon are a company that sell experiences. An experience is a great way to gift someone for a special occasion. So Red Balloon are a company that arranges experiences. You can buy them online and that experience gets fulfilled. And they set a big, hairy, audacious goal, a big goal to give 10% of the population of Australia a gift by, I think it was 2015. So they had a 10-year goal to give 10% of the Australian population a gift. And they had big screens in the lobby and in the workplaces, and they updated these things in real time. Every time an experience was sold, they updated the score. So everybody was engaged in the game. They hit that goal, I think it was 2 years ahead of schedule. So now they've got a goal to have an experience sold, I think it's once every second. So every second there's an experience being sold somewhere in the world. And I think at the moment it's about one every minute and 45 seconds. I forget what the actual metric is, but it doesn't matter. You can read it in the notes below and that will tell you what it exactly is now. But they are tracking this in real time. Everybody can see exactly how they're doing at any point in the day. So I really hope that did make sense. If this works for you, it's a brilliant way of keeping track of everything because it's always with you and you can note down how you're doing. Measure frequency and visibility. And if you can crack those, and by the way, the over-encompassing thing is it doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be on super plasma or big screens. There doesn't have to be a high-tech solution to your problem. I really did hope that made sense. Keep scaling, and I look forward to sharing with you again soon.